What up, everybody? It's Little Derek Comics back with another video, and this time I'm yapping with one of my friends, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Caitlin. On Instagram, I am First Mate MKK. It'll be linked down because, golly, that's a mouthful. I really chose a long handle, but yeah, digital artist. I'm also a teacher, so I'm just all over the place. But yeah, I guess
So,
that's it.
so I guess we'll be yapping about just art in general today, um,
Mm,
and just life as an artist, I guess.
yep.
So, what would you say are some pros and cons of being an artist?
Well, you get to express your creativity, and you also get to like experience the creativity of others if you do work for other people. So you get to see what life's like through their eyes, their imagination. It's always fun. You get to travel and explore and do things. Half the time, like if you're working for yourself, then you're working on your own schedule. But then there's also the stability side of if you do like a company's artwork, so you have like the 9 to 5 kind of schedule.
Yeah, I'd say like there's definitely that stability aspect of like, okay, yeah, you can do art as much as you like want to,
Mm,
but then it's like, well, how do I make money and how practical is this?
yeah.
Like there's obviously famous artists and things like that. Historically there have been artists who make tons of money, but for like the general average artist,
Mm.
you're really in like a super competitive field, and
Oh yeah.
it's like, where do you fit in that? So what would be like the balance of that? What would you say?
Well, I think like if it's like someone in general and they're just starting off, they've got their main source of income, whatever job that might be, like whether it's waitressing or office worker, part-time employee, and then they just carve out the extra time where they dedicate it to whatever craft they want, whether it's like jewelry making, art commissions, YouTube, filming, whatever. They just have to like figure out that balance of like, I work these days, I'm off these days. Obviously, plan a day where you do nothing and you rest, do your adult responsibilities. But depending on how bad you want that art career, should dictate how much extra time outside of your other work that you put in.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's really important too, because you might have like a full-time job, but and you might not have too much time. So, but I think just coming up with that scheduling, just getting
mhm,
even like an hour or so, even if it's like
yep,
just 15 minutes to plan for something and to be consistent with that,
yep,
I feel like would go a long way. And sometimes you might have more time than that. Sometimes you might realize, I got X amount of time, and you can put more time. So it's definitely a juggling act. It's
oh
like,
yeah,
where do I fit my artistic practices in? So
yes. And it's also more of like discipline. I know a lot of people say this more for like working out, so I hear it more. It's like what happens when the motivation runs out? You still have to show up to perform.
yes.
And art's the same way. Like maybe you're having a rough day and you don't feel like it, but if you can do it, you still need to do it. Like, especially if you're working for someone else, you're making someone else's commission, then you just have to show up. And that's what I think a lot of like new artists struggle with is just having the discipline of like, I love this. This is a passion, but it's also a job.
And then you mentioned rest earlier. Rest is like super important too, because
Mhm.
you can work as many hours as you want to on something, but after a while you might like get tired of just looking at. I know when I'm like
Yep.
working on different projects, whether it have been like when I was in college or even now when I work on comics or something like that,
Yep.
just sitting there for hours on end every day looking at the same project, you start to get in your own head about it, and you're
Oh,
just
yeah.
like almost hate to see what you're working on. But like when you can actually step back and, look at the whole, like the bigger picture, like
Mhm.
quite literally, it's like, oh, this is actually cool. And, sometimes you'll just need that rest to, just chill out
Oh,
and
yeah.
breathe a little bit
Yeah.
and get that fresh air.
Yeah. Because for me personally, I like doing it in cycles where I'll make a lot and then I'll take a long break, like maybe a couple weeks. And then I go into the loop of I watch other people make. So then that's like the learning period. and then I take what I've like learned, put it into practice, and I make a lot of work, and then that cycle continues. And I find that like that's like what works best for me, especially like if I want to improve things.
Yeah, I think it's definitely for improvement, just watching other people, how they work, how they schedule,
Yep.
what works for them.
Mhm.
It's good to see, and then you're like, oh, I could use some of this. This might be helpful for me.
Yep.
Just take a step back and see what's successful for somebody else. Even if they're not like a super successful artist, they might be doing something that helps them, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that could definitely work for me.
Oh yeah, or even if it's like something completely unrelated. Like I used to watch a lot of architecture creation, and that helped me figure out how to do 3D for designing houses for like concept art and such. So it's like, okay, 3D programming for architecture and texturing there and like picking from their websites. That's helping me with my own 3D art
Mm.
on just the fantasy side.
Yeah, definitely, especially like when I'm learning a new software or something like that,
Mhm.
I'll try to see like if there's something I don't understand, I could like look it up, but it's a lot easier when you see somebody do it because a lot of time you might be a visual learner, even if you're
Mm.
not a visual learner, sometimes that visual aid definitely helps.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just looking at how other people make art or use software is
Mhm.
definitely helpful. I see my
Oh yeah.
cousin, he does a lot of 3D models too, and we use like the similar software.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, let me see how he does it. And I use it a little bit differently than he does, but just seeing him use the different tools gave me like a good foundation to
Yeah.
start.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think what was really funny is like uh I never really had art classes before college.
Hmm.
And then like during college and then the online classes I took after I graduated, a lot of them were just like, this is a software, now sink or swim. And I think having those kinds of classes helped a lot because now I know what I need to look for and what's constant over every program, no matter what it is, 2D or 3D. So yeah, I definitely like the sink or swim, but I know that's not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah, definitely like throwing you in the deep end of the pool is just it's it definitely forces you to learn. And
Mm,
there's been times like when I first started doing digital art, there was like a software. It was more like an app
yeah.
kind of software too, but it was the Autodesk Sketchbook, right?
Mm, yep.
And I was using that for like so much, and that's like the main way I used like just did art because
Yeah.
I drew, but it was like right there on my phone, so I could just draw
Mhm.
anytime. But there was like a lot of tools that I had to learn, and it was just I don't know. It's just it really is hard when you don't have that help, and it's a little
Yeah.
intimidating at times too.
Oh,
But
yeah. Yeah. Which is like, I'm so thankful we live in the digital age with like YouTube tutorials
yes,
and things like that. And it's just, but I think being able to experiment and learn from both successes and failures, like it's like that Edison quote of I found 1,000 ways to how to not make a light bulb.
mhm.
So it's just like that kind of thing where I think it's valuable to experiment, sink and swim.
I think that's another thing. It's okay to fail. Like a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
successes come from failure, and I think people are a little too afraid to fail, like to the point where they don't start.
Yeah.
And it's like it's o it's okay to fail. Make that bad art. There's so much
Yes.
bad for every piece of good art I've made just like three equally bad pieces of
Yes.
art at least. It's
Oh yeah.
because sometimes you have to test out to see if this works. And
Hmm.
it might work, but like when you're first doing it, it's like, well, this looks rough because it's my first time doing it. But
Yep.
you have to make those rough pictures so you can make something good. It's kind of
Hmm.
like when you were talking about the gym earlier, you have to break down muscle to build new muscle. So you kind of have
Exactly.
to make something ugly for something new to,
Yep.
grow. So
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because it's just like um you've got to make it work, but you got to make it work for you. Like it might work theoretically, but until you get the practice moves down, your body can just perform it automatically.
mhm.
Then you're gonna just struggle with it. But there's nothing wrong with that. The only time you fail is when you stop and you
Yes.
never do it again.
Yeah. I,
You're gonna
that's a very important thing to just because you never truly fail until you actually give up,
yep.
and like I said earlier, people are afraid to start.
Hmm.
So if you if you kind of given up before you started, then you've failed before you even began. So it's like,
Literally.
so you know, I feel like people should definitely start and just
Yep.
not be afraid to take that next step because you know if you can wait like 20 years for a project to start, but then you'll
Yep.
finally have the project and you're like, well, dang, I could have did this a long time ago and it's still
Oh yeah.
not perfect. So you know,
Yeah. And it's like even more so with the digital age now, there's not much excuse. It doesn't
Mhm.
cost anything to like upload or draw in free software and you can make as many mistakes. You waste no supplies. It's just you got to be willing to dedicate the time to waste to like get through the mistakes. And then if you want to take it to pencil and paper and use your real supplies, then go for it.
Yeah, and people definitely like even if you had virtually no resources, you could always kind of, you know, you might be able to go to say the library or maybe if you're going to school, there might be something you can use to record in the school. But
Hmm.
like a lot of people usually have more than that. Some people will have like, you know, computers or something like that, like
Yeah.
maybe a laptop where they can work and they can record on that. You might just be able to get a cheap mic. A lot of
Your
people,
phone.
yeah, your phone, yeah, everything. I know a lot of content creators will just use their iPhone or just maybe
Yeah.
even their you know, Android phone, whatever they got.
Hmm.
But even, you know, in terms of like streaming and stuff like that, like a lot of people want to get into streaming and recording their video games. If you have a PlayStation or Xbox or a PC,
Yep.
there's you probably automatically just have
Oh
software
yeah.
on there available for you to stream. So it's out there. It's definitely out there. There's no reason not to stick your foot in the water and just kind of
Yep.
test the waters.
And if you don't like it, at least you said you tried.
You
You
can
can't
definitely say
say
you
you didn't like it until you tried it though.
tried. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, like that we're really trying to drive home in there. It's like if you never try, then
Yep.
what are you doing? Like at least if you do fail, quote unquote, you know,
Hmm.
you've tried. You can say, well, I have this work that
Yep.
I've put out, even if it didn't work out, at least I have something that I can be proud of, a decent
Yep.
attempt that I've taken. And there's no shame in trying.
Oh yeah.
There's definitely shame in not trying. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I mean, if you try, there's only one way you can go, and it's up. You can't get
Yes.
any worse from zero. And
Yeah.
you might even surprise yourself with what you can do. And like if you're ever wanting to learn things, I know a lot of colleges, they either have like really cheap or free audited classes. So if you're interested in any sort of like art form, you can just go there, talk to the professors, they'll let you in. Usually they'll let you sneak in for free too. So if you ever want to learn anything, doesn't matter if it's art, business, whatever, just see if you can audit that class.
Yeah, and you know,
It's way cheaper.
and you're never getting younger. You're always, you know, getting older. So you always have less time, and time is a very valuable resource. So,
Truly.
and there's no time like the present. I know these are all kind of cliche quotes, but you know, it's true though. It's very
Yep.
true.
Oh yeah. The older I get, I'm more just like, it's crazy to think that this time was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, sometimes I'll like think of when something came out, and then I'm like,
Just
oh man,
makes
that
me
was
feel old.
yeah. But yeah, we're old, but you know,
If like people heard how old we were, they'd be like, "No, you're not. No, you're not. Shut
like
up."
oh my gosh. But yeah, I think that was a good rambling session. You think that we covered a lot of bases?
Yeah. Did we need to talk about anything like going to school for art or anything like that, or do you want to just keep it?
I want to keep it relatively short.
Gotcha.
These rambling sessions are a bit shorter. This is a little bit longer than average, so
Oh wow.
yeah. I know
We're
it doesn't
just
feel like
professional yappers is all it is.
exactly.
Ugh.
But any closing remarks you want to say?
Just do as I say, not as I do. I quit the art industry, but like if it's what you want to go for it. Like I still make art, but I just decided it wasn't my career thing. But you guys go for it if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, and there's definitely nothing wrong with doing art on the side. You don't have to be
Yes.
like a professional artist. Not
No.
everybody is really meant to be a professional artist or a full-time
Hmm.
artist or anything like that, a full-time content creator. But
Yeah.
definitely, if you love art, there's no reason to not at least, you know, dedicate a little bit of time just for your own mental health and well-being to
Yep.
just
Yep.
make something fun.
Oh yeah. There's nothing wrong with having selfish hobbies. That was my thing. I learned never wanted to do it for other people, like
Yes.
working for other people and making their work. Although I love seeing where their creativity can lead, it just never felt right unless I was making my own stuff. So
True,
I just
true.
like keeping it as a hobby personally.
Yeah, I never really minded. Like sometimes I would mind doing projects for,
Hmm.
other people, but it's different when you get to dedicate your own time to your
Yep.
own thing. It's definitely awesome.
Oh yeah. Nothing's worse than like you get someone's idea and it's such a hit or miss thing. Like it can be really fun. Like I did a board game project and then I got a comic project and ooh, that was a stinker.
But yeah, I think we'll pretty much end it at that. Just pursue your dreams and keep
Yes.
going. Don't be afraid to start. And what's your Instagram? What's so
Yeah.
everybody can find you or any social media?
Yeah. All I've got really is an Instagram and an art station under the same name, that First Mate MKK. I'll let you put it in the description because it's long, spelled weird. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on. We're
Thank
glad
you
to
for having
have
me.
you, and good luck with your future endeavors and your new job.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
All right, and with that, we're out. Goodbye, YouTube. We'll see you in the next one.
Woo!